April the 20th is the 56th day of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. The occupiers have disrupted the long-awaited evacuation of civilians from Mariupol. The convoy of buses and ambulances was ready to take women, children and the elderly on a pre-arranged route. However, the humanitarian corridor did not work as planned. The occupiers did not stop the shelling, Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk said. Due to the lack of control over their own military on the ground, the occupiers were unable to ensure the proper ceasefire. Also, due to the inherent disorganization and negligence, the occupiers were unable to provide timely transportation of people to the spot where dozens of our buses and ambulances were waiting. Despite the shelling, 4 evacuation buses managed to leave the city. People did not get in contact with each other until morning. They spent the night in Berdyansk, a town 80 kilometers away from Mariupol. Evacuees are expected in Zaporizhia. At the same time, the fighters of the Azov regiment are ready to leave the besieged Mariupol, but do not agree to Russia's terms to surrender weapons.
Ми готові евакуюватися за підтримки третьої сторони з міста Маріуполь зі своєю стрілецькою зброєю для того, щоб врятувати особовий склад, вірений нам, для того, щоб евакуювати наших поранених та забрати тіла загиблих і поховати їх з почестям на території непідконтрольній Російської Федерації.
The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, is still ready to exchange Russian prisoners of war for a safe passageway for civilians and Ukrainian troops in Mariupol. In the besieged Mariupol, about 1,000 civilians are hiding on the territory of the Azovstal industrial plant. The armed forces of Ukraine cannot approach the city as it is completely filled with Russian armored vehicles and tanks within a 120-kilometer radius. The occupiers are trying to raze Mariupol to the ground, just like they did with Aleppo in Syria. The Russian military continued to terrorize Kharkiv with shelling. At night, fires broke out in at least 2 high-rise buildings in Saltivka, the largest suburb in the city, which the Russian military are constantly shelling. Parked cars in the country yards caught fire. In addition, in Kharkiv, the Russians fired cluster munitions at the cemetery of the victims of totalitarianism in Piatychatki, which is a resting place for almost 4,000 Polish officers that were shot by the NKVD in 1938-1940. In the Kherson region, the occupiers have intensified preparations for a pseudo-referendum. They have already decided on a date. They want to imitate the will of Ukrainians on April the 27th. This was reported by the Operational Command South.
Те, що референдум призначений серед тижня, у робочий день додатково підкреслює, що волевиявлення місцевого населення загарбників не цікавить, а в заготовленому сценарії відомий результат.
Furthermore, Ukrainian intelligence believes that Russia plans to carry out forced mobilization in the occupied territories in Zaporizhia and Kherson regions. Pseudo-referendums in the occupied territories in Zaporizhia and Kherson regions are aimed at declaring forced mobilization. In fact, it is an attempt to destroy Ukraine by the hands of Ukrainians. Meanwhile, the brave Kherson residents continue to resist. They began to put up warnings to the occupiers. To Russian occupiers and all those who support their regime, we are near you. We are already working in Kherson. Death awaits you all. Kherson is Ukraine. Without electricity, gas, and water until the end of the year, people in several villages in the Luhansk region live in such conditions. It is impossible to repair communications due to the hostilities. The head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration, Serhiy Haidai, reported. The Russian world deprives local residents of gas, water and light. They live these 1.5 months as most Russians do all their lives. Yes, yesterday the enemy damaged a 300 kilowatt high-voltage line. The accident is quite serious. The electricity disappeared in more than 200 villages which are temporarily occupied. The occupiers are destroying substations and pumping stations, gas pipelines and infrastructure. In the town of Popasna, on the very front line, not a single building remains undamaged. Approximately 3,000 civilians remain there. 2 forest workers blew themselves up on a mine in the Kyiv region. They were driving a car through the forest to load the cut-down trees. 1 man died. The other one is in the hospital. A powerful air bomb was also found near the military hospital in Irpin and was rapidly deactivated.
Оце воронка від цієї бомби. Бомба знешкоджена. Слава Богу, ніхто не постраждав. Дякуємо нашим Збройним силам, хлопцям з розмінування.
And the day before, a man found a tripwire with a grenade in a pile of dry twigs right in the center of Kyiv. He found the dangerous object while walking around the city and called the bomb squad. Every day, the pyrotechnic units of the State Emergency Service detect and defuse about 2,000 explosive objects left behind by the Russians leaving the occupied territories. A herd of pigs, a herd of horses, and many homeless dogs roam the Kyiv region. Ukrainian musician Ruslan Horovy released photos and videos of bats that managed to survive active hostilities in the Kyiv region.
Відверто кажучи, я таке бачив вперше. Це свійські свині, які потікали від бомбардування. Ми зараз в селі, бачите, тут все розбомблено. І вони як дивляться на нас, голодні, що навіть місцеві цуцики їх бояться.
Hundreds of other animals killed by the occupiers were less lucky. Earlier, the world was already shocked by the footage of the occupiers in Hostomel destroying a stable and burning the horses alive. And in the occupied Vorzel, dogs were crucified and eaten for fun. These photos have traveled all over Ukraine. A grieving mother weeps over her son's grave. A 70-year-old woman hitchhiked for a week to Bucha to find the boy of her son killed by the occupiers. She did not leave the Kyiv region, which was partially and temporarily occupied by the enemy, just to bury her child. On the 7th day, the mother found her son's body. Associated Press photographer Rodrigo Ad took photos of the funeral. In Bucha, Hostomel, Irpin, Borodyanka, and other settlements under Russian occupation, mass torture, sexual violence, murder of civilians continues to be investigated.
Where can you find a safe place if your city is under siege? Is it an usual residential building? No. In hospitals or schools?
Третья больница, Мариуполь, роддом.
No. In a theater, the heart of your city. Far away from any military objects. Yes, that's a good idea. Is there any other way we could warn Russian pilots about kids hiding in the theater? Yes, capital letters, in Russian. That way we will definitely be safe. But only if murdering our children isn't their goal.